Talk with part two that we are supporting people around the globe that are of color. And my opening statement, this is what I want to share with all of you. Welcome to Success Talk again. The topic is about people of color around the world that are being unalived by corrupt governments, including our own, for greed and power. We welcome your comments and ask that you respect comments whether you agree or disagree. Anyone who, says something that is disrespectful, definitely we will delete you. All the comments on the show are our opinions made today for educational and entertaining purposes. My guest today is Michael Theory, who is co-founder of Black Coral. And Michael, do you want to say a few words about Black Coral? They're probably saying, what is
Yes,
that?
Black Coral is a nonprofit. We work with communities and indigenous populations all around the world to help ameliorate the issues that concern climate change. Also, we work with people that are invested in sustainable living practices and spiritual practices that give true history and true accounts and empowerment to marginalized communities.
Wow, thank you. That's awesome. When you actually shared with me about Black Coral, it's something that you would never expect that people are actually rallying around and how powerful it is. So I thank you and I thank the other co-founders. And at
Thank
some
you.
point, you're welcome. I'd like to see the video that we can actually show here on Success Talk. So I'd like to begin. Thanks again, Michael. I'd like to begin with a quote from one of my heroes, Dr. Henrik Clark. Powerful people cannot afford to educate the people that they oppress, because once you are truly educated, you will not ask for power, you will take it.
You would take it.
So absolutely. So I want to show, I want to show this short clip. We're going to start today with the Congolese people and what they're going through, and then we'll have a discussion about it. And feel free to comment, make your comments, and we will actually place them here on the air live stream if you do have. So just bear with me. This is my first time doing this, so bear with me.
As M23 rebels and the Congolese army fight in the east of the country. But that changed on Friday, when 2 bombs struck this neighborhood on the outskirts of the city of Goma.
We're very afraid because the fighting's approaching our homes and we can see how the government's not helping us. How can the government wait until the bombs actually reach us? It should stop this type of thing from happening. It's not acceptable.
As the fighting draws closer, residents from Goma's surrounding villages have left, heading for displacement camps in the city or to South Kivu. On the same day, M23 rebels are believed to have shot at a UN helicopter in the Masisi region. In recent weeks, the armed group has been fighting government forces there as it tries to seize the city of Sake, 24 kilometers away. It's the last city before Goma. Large areas of North Kivu are now under its control. In the run-up to elections in December, President Felix Tshisekedi promised he would rid the country of M23. The Congolese military blames the armed group for the bombing, which M23 denies.
We have been maintaining pressure on the M23 rebels with a military operation on the ground, and this is why they decided to launch a bomb from an area in the mountains where we are fighting them. Unfortunately, it had a human cost and caused serious damage to civilian buildings.
After being dormant for years, the armed group re-emerged in 2021, and millions of people have since been forced from their homes by the conflict. UN peacekeepers are carrying out a phased withdrawal from the area after both local people and the government accused them of failing to prevent the spread of M23. By the end of April, all staff from the mission will have left South Kivu. Many people here are anxious about what will happen next. Camille Nedelec, Al Jazeera.
So, that was helpful for me. But your comments about this particular clip, Michael?
Well, I'm always amazed at how quickly the UN peacekeepers get to places where it doesn't seem like they're doing any actual peacekeeping, but the flow of resources never ceases to leave these places that they happen to show up. I'm a little suspicious about that, but I'm not even going to go that deep. This has been going on in DRC ever since King Leopold, and you don't know exactly what side is in the right, but you know that both sides aren't helping the people of the Congo. Not the government and not the rebels. And it's all like a free-for-all that engages in allowing things like, oh my God, modern day slavery, child slavery, and imprisonment, forced labor. It's insane. Rape, murder, these are things that are everyday occurrences in that territory, and it's all for their mineral wealth. And I think the other nations are getting the clue that this is just the beginning of a new kind of feel from European nations, Western nations, even Russia and China, that there's going to be a new colonialization of these territories unless these people get it together and unify. And I mentioned in the last one, the example of Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso is the one that the African youth are looking up to. They're seeing just recently, just this week, Senegal just entered the alliance with the Sahel nations that are opposing the European stealing of their resources. And if they get that strength together, DRC, those people that are disaffected now, those people that are being forced out of their nation, will be coming back with aid from 5, 6, 7 nations, and we'll see an end to this. That's at least my wish.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit more about the Congo before we move on to Sudan, because I thought this was really pretty interesting. And then I have a call to action when I'm asking the public, because as we are presenting this information to you, we're doing it for a reason, so that you open up your eyes and wake up to what's happening around the world. And I think what's happening to the Sudanese, the Congolese, and the Palestinians is certainly a direct correlation to what could happen to us. We are losing our democracy. And that's why I'm my platform, to invite my colleagues like Mike Theory, Brother Deb Shariff, who will show up a little later, to talk about this. But if you have a platform, I'm urging you to use it, to absolutely use it. But let me just deal with this little short 3 slides that I want to mention that I think is important. The Democratic Republic, if you're not familiar, of Congo, which is called the DRC, has experienced decades of conflict and instability, leading to a massive humanitarian crisis where millions of civilians have suffered and continue to be impacted by violence. And here's a comprehensive breakdown of the underlying reasons. And I want to hold on for just a second. Okay. Legacy. I promised that when I was going to do this, that I had this on camera. Hold on for just 1 second as I share with you what's up here. Not unless you can read it, Michael. Can you?
Sure, I can read it.
Okay.
Colonial legacy. The brutal exploitation under Belgian colonial rule created long-standing societal divisions particularly around ethnic and regional lines. Mobutu era. After independence, President Mobutu Sese Seko ruled for over 30 years, characterized by corruption and state collapse. Regional and internal conflicts. The First and Second Congo Wars, the First Congo War, 1996 to 1997, and Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003, were rooted in regional power struggles following the Rwandan genocide. These conflicts involved neighboring countries and local militias, leading to millions of deaths due to violence, disease, and hunger. Militia activity, local armed groups like the Allied Democratic Forces, Mai militias, continue to fight for control over minerals and territory.
And here's the last slide. Can you continue?
As soon as I see it.
Oh, is it up there?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me just stop sharing for a moment. You can't see it? There
Not
it
yet,
is.
no.
Can you see it now?
No, it's just giving me the circle of death, the little
Oh,
weight
it is.
circle.
Okay. Well, we'll stop right here with that one. But it just
Oh,
really
here we go. Oh, now it showed up. Now it's gone.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Let me see if I can show up the last one. Let me know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mass displacement. More than 5 million people are internally displaced and millions more have fled to neighboring countries. Food insecurity. Prolonged conflict has devastated agriculture, and many people rely on humanitarian aid for basic needs. Health crisis. Epidemics like cholera and Ebola, exacerbated by poor infrastructure and insecurity, have killed thousands. 6, international response. Peacekeeping. The UN's MONUSCO mission is the largest peacekeeping operation globally, but has faced challenges due to the complex conflict dynamics. Aid efforts. International aid organizations provide assistance, but often struggle with access issues due to active conflict zones. Conclusion, the DRC's suffering stems from a mix of historical injustices, resource exploitation, ethnic and political tensions, and external interference. Concerted efforts are needed to establish sustainable peace, hold perpetrators accountable, and strengthen governance to address the ongoing humanitarian catastrophe.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I want to talk. Thanks, Mike, for reading that. It's just that my phone was acting right and I couldn't read it. So I appreciate that. But I think for the public, if you all are unaware of what's happening with the Congolese people and how you can help, there's so many ways that you can help. Of course, you can donate money to help the Congolese humanitarian efforts, but more so, stop buying all of these devices because they're after the cobalt and the resources that actually fuel your cell phones. They fuel your computers. So instead of trying to get the latest and greatest, just going ahead and use what you have until it falls off. I know that Apple is divested with continuing this because if you look at the mines, they're treating the Congolese people like slaves. And I know I've spoken to my colleagues so many times, and they say, "Oh, if I was around during slavery, this is what I do." Well, this is what's happening to the Congolese people. Being treated, they're not even getting paid. The poverty level is unbelievable. And just think about the companies that are colonizing the Congo, the money that they're making. So that's why there's fractions. They're fighting over the resources, and they're getting aid from the West. That. So that they can cause confusion, continue to put our people, the Congolese people, in slavery. And that is just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So again, I think it's important that we actually deal with these issues and we know what we're up against and do your own research. Just going ahead and do your own research. Any comments?
Well, yeah, and I think you were exactly right in what you're saying about look at where the money's going. Follow the money, and that's going to lead you to where the problems are. They want the coltan, they want those resources. They're literally, they could get those resources, but they don't even want to spend the money on the machinery to do it. Instead, they'd rather utilize people and pay them less than $1 a day for
Some of them
12
don't
and 14
get paid at
hours.
all. Some of
Oh,
them don't get paid at all. It's
yeah.
slavery.
And not to mention the hazardous conditions in terms of just being in areas that are polluted, where now the forests are dying, that the water's poisoned, the flora and fauna that they survived on for centuries is gone, and they turned the places in the nation into places that are unlivable. Forgive me, I get kind of emotional trying to maintain. And we see this time and again. This is not the only place has occurred. We've seen children being forced to pick cocoa for the chocolate, Nestle and other, businesses such as that. And it's always about the dollar in the end. Who's going to control the dollar and who's going to not have it, and how we can basically permanently keep people in a position where we can steal their, and I say we because it's our nation, we're Americans, and we may not have the ability to stop the people, but we do have the ability in this country to shine a light on the wrongdoings of people. No matter how much they try to stop that, we are the warrior caste of the diaspora, and we're always in this battle.
Exactly.
So.
If anyone is just, thank you, Michael, for that response. If anybody is just streaming in, we're talking about the Congolese people. We are going to talk about the Sudanese people and the Palestinians. This is a cry for you all to open up your eyes and see what country you're living in and what they're doing to people all over the world, which is devastating. We're losing our First Amendment rights. You're wondering why the students throughout America, the universities and the colleges, we're talking about Harvard, MIT, we're talking about Ivy League colleges. Why are the students upset? You're not getting the full story. And the reason that you're not getting the full story is that many of the media outlets, and we talked about this, I teach journalism, broadcast journalism at a local college, and it's unfortunate that we only have 6 large companies that own all the media, print, electronic, etc. So if they don't like what you're saying, guess what? You're off the air. So all of the journalists are going in step with one ideology. They want to protect Israel. They want to protect greed and corruption. They want to keep us in the 99 percentile, and as they are in the 1%, which is totally unacceptable. That's what these young students are doing. And I am so proud of them. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you a clip and talk a little bit about the history of it. But this was like a domino effect in terms of why the students are doing what they're doing. So don't listen to what mainstream media is saying, that the students are anti-Semitic. They are not anti-Semitic. You know how many Jewish students are with the students that are on these campuses? And they have come out and said, we are against what's happening to the Palestinian people, what's happening to the Congolese people, what's happening to the Sudanese people. Talking about Sudanese, let me show you the short clip. We'll have a conversation, and then we'll get to the Palestinian people. If you have any comments, leave them, please. I want to get your feedback, because now the veil is beginning to crack open. And I want folks to know exactly what we're up against and why we as the people, we have the power. Remember that. We have the power. So let me just show you the short clip of the Sudanese people. Just bear with me for just a moment. Like I said, I'm new showing these clips, so just hold on for just 1 second. And Mike, let me know if you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
All made 2023 a harrowing year for the people of Sudan. 7 months ago, on April 15, boiling tensions between factions of Sudan's army spilled into all-out violence. War between the military and the rapid support forces broke out in the capital, Khartoum, but swiftly spread across the nation to the Darfur. Hundreds of civilians were killed in the first months of the conflict, and thousands have been displaced.
It's heartbreaking what is happening in Sudan. In spite of successive ceasefires, and they keep making these arrangements, we see that they get observed in their breach almost within hours after these arrangements are signed. We see how civilians continue to be exposed to serious risk of death and injury.
On May 6, peace talks between the factions were held in Jeddah, along with envoys from the United States and Saudi Arabia. Both the army and RSF have agreed to multiple ceasefires and then consistently violated them.
Our preferred path is the path of the negotiation that we have in Jeddah, and we are optimistic that they will achieve a positive result.
Peace initiatives have proved slow and inadequate, with limited political commitment to end the crisis. The focus has instead turned to delivering humanitarian aid to the thousands of civilians suffering from shortages of food, water, and medicine. The United Nations estimates that up to 9,000 people have been killed since April, while about 5.6 million have been forced to flee their homes, 1.2 million of them across international borders.
We had to forcibly leave the country. I left with my baby, who were actually at that time only 10 months old. And we had to leave everything, everyone behind, even my husband.
A UN report indicates more than 50 million people are facing hunger and outbreaks of disease, including cholera. The World Food Programme says food aid for more than 500,000 refugees who have fled from Sudan to Chad will run out next month without extra funding. In Al Jazeera state, where the WFP have been providing aid to more than 800,000 people, food assistance was suspended as RSF troops made headway in the region.
We really need an urgent funding for this crisis. It's urgent because we need time to purchase the food, to bring the food on the site, to bring the food at the border, and to make sure the people will get at least a meal a day,
And with the spreading war forcing more Sudanese into desperation, that support is more critical than ever. Yusuf Sosar, TRT World.
Wow. The Sudanese people.
Mm.
Now, Michael, can you tell me about some of the resources that Sudan has and why are these people suffering?
Okay. With I'm not as well versed in the Sudan as other areas, but
Mhm.
it always seems to come to me that when you're talking about Central Africa and the peoples there, it's you have to follow the trail of who wants the power and what the resources are. I don't know specifically what resources the Sudan has in terms of mineral wealth, whether it's gold or the different coltan or any kind of thing like that. But I do know that it always comes down to the resources. Like Haiti has iridium. Nobody's there because of fish or anything like that there. When they're in these countries, it's to get specific things that are making people rich. So it's never about ethnic cleansing. These are all smoke screens. It's not about religion. Put all those things aside, and what it comes down to is where's the money? What's the trade value of it? What are the corporations that are involved backing these military? If someone's spending money, the munitions, the arms, the weaponry, all of that costs more than 1,000 times more than the food aid that they're giving to these countries. So who's really getting the aid? It's not the citizens. The citizens aren't getting the aid. There are manufacturers of these arms that are making the money. So, and there's corporate entities behind this that are making the money, and the rebel leadership and the governmental leadership is all looking at that bottom line, because most of the time when the smoke clears, these people have gone usually to Europe, and they're living for the rest of their lives, and their families are taken care of, but their nation is in ruins, and we see that over and over again. So it doesn't even matter what the resources are. It's the same game plan. They don't change the game. They don't change anything at all. They use the same plan because it always works. And what's going on now is with the awakening, the wokeness of Africa, the Africans are learning through social media, through the youth around the world, through the millennials, through the Gen Zers of color, the BIPOC communities. They are learning what the game is. And the young people are looking at their elders and saying, who do you serve? Are you serving your nation? Or are you just the running dogs of these people that are going to put extra money in your bank account? And that's what we see time and time again. And we look at it, we hear what these leaders are saying, and it blows our minds that they can literally get. And I think an African woman I heard recently online was discussing it, and she's saying, like, I feel upset when I look at the news that I find out that's not in my country but is on social media, and I start to understand why some people think we Africans are stupid. Because when I find out the reality of what's really going on, I feel stupid. Like, because I didn't realize that this is how valued my nation is. I thought we were poor.
Right.
Yet, how can you be poor when you can pull gold out of your backyard, or diamonds down the street, or find a mountain of millions and millions of dollars worth of resources? How can you be a poor nation and not have food to feed? It's a setup. It's a setup. Like they did. We talked about how the U.S. Destroys different types of crops in order to sell U.S. goods in nations. They do the same thing with the resource. They destabilize. It's the same pattern. We'll fund this rebel group. We'll figure out any old reason for them to be rebels. They'll go in and they'll destabilize the nation. After we destabilize, we'll send in a U.S. peacekeeping force. And you know what? We're going to put them right around the area where we want to mine, or we want to take whatever it is we want to take. They're going to be keeping peace right around there. And these other people will give them bags of food and send them to a refugee camp and say, look how wonderful we are to you people, knowing all the time that we caused all these deaths in the first place. And then we'll pay off the leader, and we'll tell them this is the game. This is the game they do from the leader. There's a book. There's several books that talk about this, but the game is take this money, or we'll kill you. And this is how, it's just like the mob, but you'll have some insurgent that will kill members of your family, or you'll get assassinated, or we'll fix your election so you can't get elected, and then we'll get you, or we'll have you deported. We'll say you did something in violation of human rights. We'll put you on the world court. We'll do all these different things to you, or you can just take this money.
Well, I actually had an opportunity to look up a little bit of information, and said about the Sudanese people that are suffering from war and are being slaughtered daily. The conflict causing immense suffering in Sudan is rooted in complex historical, it's always complex, historical, political, and economic factors, leading to a catastrophe, humanitarian crisis. Here's a detailed breakdown of why it's caused, why it's like that. Colonial legacy. During colonial rule, British, here we go, authorities employed a divide and rule strategy, accentuating ethnic, religious, and regional divides. Always divide and conquer.
Well, they did it. They did it in Rwanda. The Hutu and what is it?
Hutu and I do remember. I can't. It escapes me now.
Yeah. And then they did it. They did it with the Igbo in West Africa, and the Yoruba and the Hausa, and it's everywhere you go.
It is.
That's part of the same game.
Exactly. Well, post-colonial power struggles after the independence in 1956, Sudan experienced power struggles among various political groups, which is what you mentioned, leading to prolonged periods of instability. The Darfur crisis, which was from 2003 until present, government-supported Janjaweed militias committed atrocities against non-Arab ethnic groups in Darfur, leading to genocide allegations and international condemnation. South Sudan secession, tensions between Sudan and South Sudan persisted post session with border disputes and resource control. It's always about the resources,
Hmm.
as you mentioned. But I mean, when I think about when I see the pictures and the the Congolese and the Sudanese people suffering and the Palestinian people suffering, I'm saying, what kind of world are we living in? And I just want to do a segue to the Palestinian people. Now let me just share this. Just like I had clips, Mike, I showed clips and
Hmm.
reviewing this. I did show clips of Sudan and Congo just to get a better perspective as to
Hmm.
actually what's happening. Let me tell you, I could not find any clip with the Palestinian people without seeing families blown up, and I just could not show them. Every clip after clip after clip um, is devastating. Now, why is the Palestinian movement happening here in America? Because number one, our government is not complicit, but they're an accomplice to what's happening. They are aiding with our tax dollars. They are aiding Israel with their ammunition to kill families, innocent families.
Hmm.
So if you say anything about, oh, well, you must be anti Israel. No, we're not anti Israel. We're anti murdering of families, of seeing innocent civilians. I think it's up to the total is up to 41,000 civilians are actually
Hmm.
unalive. And the sadness is because I've been streaming on social media, there's two families that I've been watching. One family, I just watched the terror in their eyes. It was unbelievable. You can't stop crying for, you can't help but get emotional when you see these things. They're absolutely horrible. So I'm saying that to say, how did all of this start? How did this Palestinian movement start? And I think I mentioned it on the first series that what happened is over in Columbia University, there were a group of students in a protected area where they're supposed to protest. It was all legal. They were exercising their First Amendment rights, but it was what they were protesting that the powers that be didn't like it. So what did they do? They sent law enforcement with riot gear to disperse students where they were legally protesting, and they were protesting the war in Gaza, and they were also telling the university administrators to stop divesting into Israel. So the war machine. This is what they were saying. This is what actually started it. Um, and I hear my kitty in the background. He's whining because I'm talking loud. He's saying, "Is she
Hmm.
okay?" And so it started in Columbia. So what happened? Other students from other universities found out about illegally what the administrators did at Columbia University by dispersing riot gear cops to and really be very violent about it. And the other universities and colleges said, no way. The Gen X's, the Jenners, the folks, they got together and they said, we're going to protest the war in Gaza. All eyes on Rafah. And that's what happened. So I want to show you a short clip about the students out of Columbia and what happened during their graduation. So bear with me as I set this up. Just bear with me. Okay, hold up. And I'm going to show you this clip so you all can see for yourselves. Uh,
Joy Lynn Van Hassel. Bixia Chan. Zainab Hardeen Khan. Ismahan Mohammed.
Hmm.
So, Columbia University is where they all started, and many more. I mean, I could show you other protests around the country. The one that was really hard to watch was the one, I believe it was UNC or UCLA, was one of the college campuses where you should have seen what the police were doing to the students. It's unbelievable. And one of the students said they were chanting, "Why are you in riot gear? We are peaceful protesters. Why are you in riot gear? We are peaceful protesters." It was like it's almost like you can't. It's really weird. It's like you can't believe what's actually happening um, to the campuses here in America. And I'm hearing a background noise. I don't know where that's coming from. I know it's not
Mhm.
coming from me. But again, the all of the colleges and universities now they are well versed with what's happening with their government, and they're asking their government to stop divesting in a war with the tax dollars that are killing innocent civilians. Your comments, Mike.
Okay. This whole movement is connected. It's connected a lot to international politics, and also it's connected to a basically proxy wars. We have China, we have Russia, we have the West, UK, European nations, US, all vying for control of the resources and to maintain dominance on the world stage with their monetary system. So Israel, this area is again, I'm going to say it again, is just a foothold that the West has to maintain um, presence in these areas, military presence, economic presence, because they've been losing that battle. So it's important for them that they maintain the sovereignty of Israel and their connection to Israel. And Israel is just, again, funded completely by the West to do the things that they're doing. And they want to just get rid of all the Gazans, everyone that could in any way impede the expansion of the power that they need to maintain their sovereignty in these countries economically. So when we look at this, we have to understand that they don't really care about the indigenous populations in these things. This is about who maintains, just like in World War II, wasn't about race, it was who maintains the trade, who maintains the resources and how they travel and who controls the traveling and where the money goes and how it goes to what places in the world and who receives the bulk of it. So that I want to just say point blank that it all comes down to the money and to power and maintaining that dominance of the dollar, because the dollar is deeply connected to the oil, those industries that are, the petropharmaceutical industries, etc. So we have to look at that, because I think it was kind of strange that just recently the U.S. changed legally what a Semite is in terms of the designation of a Semite, in terms of what you can do to a Semite in the anti-Semite bill. So they changed it to represent mainly the Israel Eurocentric Semites rather than the other people who would be considered Semites that they might want to oppress. So I thought that was very telling in terms of the mindset of the people that are funding this thing, because it comes back to here. It comes back to our corporate structure, our nation. We're giving these monies. We're not doing humanitarian aid. We're funding the missiles. We supply the nukes to Israel. They supply computer tech to us, and they're getting it, all the equipment that they utilize from African nations.
Correct.
So that's what it comes down to. And we've been losing steadily because of our leadership. And I'm not being partisan in any way, shape, or form. No matter what party it is, our leadership perspective in Africa has been exploit at every option, and then just try to put a beneficial or benevolent face on it. But now, when we see African nations uniting, when we see them saying, okay, let's look at intra-African trade and see what we can supply with each other, that's terrifying to anyone outside, because Africa does not need the world. The world needs Africa. Africa needs nothing from any nation. The nations in Africa, I believe, what is it, 50 some odd nations. I don't want to even go there. I have to look at my map. But
no, I hear you. I do.
Every single one, from food to oil, is there in abundance. Mineral wealth in abundance. Water, the largest aquifers in abundance. So when we're talking, and because I deal with climate, I think a lot about the agri infrastructure, the water. Africa has aquifers that are unbelievable. What they call the sub-Saharan African nations, are the best in terms of survivability for climate disaster, because of the sea level height, which will prevent a lot of the ocean erosion that is going to occur in European nations and here and in Australia. In terms of
Mike, I want to bring it back home to the United States and
sure.
How important it is that we sort of disable the infrastructure that's here so that it works for our benefit. I have watched, and I wish I had the clip. It was on one of the social media platforms where there have been groups of individuals that have gone to political rallies, because people are trying to get voted back in, and how they are ignoring when any citizen, American citizen, goes up to a politician and says, "Can you get on the committee to cease fire in Gaza?" And the politician won't even talk to them. They'll ignore them. They'll put police in front of them. This is not a democracy. This is crazy. And politicians, well, they're bought off. I mean, we can have a whole show about AIPAC and how AIPAC has put millions, maybe billions of dollars and bought off all of these politicians to keep Israel safe.
Right.
And I think that, in order to dismantle any type of organization, just like you're talking about Africa and how Burkina Faso and what he's doing in uniting the African nations, which I think is unbelievable. What do we do here in terms of?
It's saying, I think sometimes we as Americans think things that are going on there aren't really occurring here, but they are.
Exactly.
We have gentrification. Gentrification is an assault in our communities.
Michael, let me just say this. For folks who want further information, I just want you to look at the bottom of the screen. You can get in touch with me if you're interested in joining the conversation. You can contact me at Success Talk with Deb Shariff at gmail.com. That's Success Talk with Deb Shariff at gmail.com. So go on, Mike. What you were saying, I hear you. It's true. What affects an
we can just look at just recently. Well, just this week, Baton Rouge has separated half of Baton Rouge. The wealthy Caucasian part has now changed its name to St. George and separated from the rest of the city, and said, for years they've been in control of the city, took the monies from the city, built up the northern part of the city. Now that they've got everything in place, the best homes, the best schools, they want to separate from the city. Thanks for setting us up, but we don't want to give up our jobs maintaining the electoral power and the governmental reach and power over Baton Rouge. But we want to separate from you in terms of not allowing your students to come to our schools and not giving anything to Baton Rouge while we take everything that we need from Baton Rouge.
So what are they doing
This
to revolt?
apartheid mentality is going on in our country as we speak. Redlining is just done in a different way. And this whole opposition to the rise of the people that aren't in the top echelons in terms of monetary standing continues here the same as it does. A serfdom of a different type occurs here, just like it does in Africa, just like it does in Europe, just like they didn't report on France and the multiple farmers that were opposed to the government, destroying the farming industry and destroying the social system that supported the elderly in those European nations. Why haven't we heard about that? All of this is connected. And the news there is the same. They block news, they control the media, they control the narratives, and they're upset when anyone can leak out information. TikTok, Facebook, IMG, the government can't get control over it because we keep changing the platforms. As fast as they get one, we start another one. This whole internet thing has allowed people to see in real time what's going on in the world, and the youth are in it and on it. Matter of fact, if you say something to a young person now, they take out their phone and Google it while you're looking at them and say, that's a lie. So critical thinking has been enhanced instead of being stilted by access to the World Wide Web. And that's what bothers me.
Absolutely. And that's why, if you notice, let me just throw this up. I think I had this up here, and I guess people are wondering, what is she talking about? Block Celebrities 2024. Well, the young people had actually figured out, one of the content creators on TikTok figured out that how can we actually, again, we have to disable this infrastructure that is oppressing us as people. And we're the 99%. They said, okay, let's start blocking celebrities. So it's not just blocking celebrities if you're on a fan base, but it's also blocking their brands. How do you think they make money? They make money because if they're popular, if they have millions of followers, then advertisers are going to give those celebrities a lot of money. Now, why are we against some of the celebrities? Because they have millions of followers and they have a platform that they can share, that they can actually bring a Palestinian family home. But they chose not to say anything because they're afraid of their reputation. There was one TikTok post that had Kim Kardashian, and she was in a forum, and there was some Palestinian protesters, and they said, "Free Palestine." And you know what Kim Kardashian says? Why don't we free everyone? And so
White Lives Matter.
So the TikTokers were so upset because with the 1.4 million Palestinian families that are in Gaza that are being, as we speak, bombed in Rafah, they could bring home all of the families safely with their platform and they're doing nothing. So what we're advocating is called a block party. Block, if I've never had any fans on any of my social media platforms. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, so I could care less about them. But young people, they're into the celebrity. Not anymore. They have a whole list of celebrities that they're blocking. So I'm just saying to the public, they're doing that because don't think you're just blocking the celebrities, but you're blocking their money. Kim Kardashian lost 3 million followers in 1 week. And I think it's estimated now, since they started to block the celebrity 2024, I think she lost 8 million. That messes with their money. Now, a couple of them, like Lizzo and some of the other ones, we're going to start a GoFundMe. So they started a GoFundMe for like $15,000. They said, no, you had 7 months to hang out and do something. You're starting to do it now because they're blocking you, because it has an impact. So I'm saying for folks that are fan base, block celebrities 2024. And even with myself on TikTok, even though I don't, I'm not involved in any fans. They said still block them. And you know what? They were right. Once I started blocking them, all of a sudden these ads started popping, because these are the ads that celebrities are actually used to promote. So of course now I'm starting to block all the ads. So again, that's what blocks celebrities. And if you want to know more information about it, all you have to do is email me at successdrshariff@gmail.com. So I want to use the rest of this platform that we have, Mike, to sort of really talk about how important it is that people, that are just, let's just say people are just finding out this information, right? About Sudan, about the Congo, about Palestine, about what's happening with our students in these American universities and colleges, and why are they all upset? And then the media, they turn around and demonize the students. And again, I always have to use that quote that Malcolm said. I said it in the first podcast. The mainstream media have the guilty look innocent and the innocent look guilty. So I'm saying all that to say that now that the veil is down and we're understanding what corruptness in a government and what it does to the people, and now we're losing our First Amendment rights. They're trying to ban TikTok,
Right.
because the community of people, like you said, Michael, that they're actually seeing people and seeing what's happening in real time. So if you go on the news and you hear Netanyahu, and he'll say the American students are anti-Semitic, in the House of Congress they pass some bill and you can't say something, censoring. How does a foreign prime minister come in America and dictate legal laws for us? I mean, how are we allowing this? And then Biden, he gets on there and says, "Oh, we're doing everything we can." And on the other side, what's really happened on real time, they're blocking humanitarian aid to get to Gaza, to Rafah. They're blocking anything to help the doctors, to help the health workers. I mean, it's a mess. I could go on. It just outrages me. I'm a baby boomer, and I'm really tired. And I just want to say this, Mike, and I want to hear I'm outraged, and I'm just outraged at the fact that there's the hypocrisy. It's so real when you think it's like on one of the major online news lines, and they were talking about the fact of how the students are going crazy. The students aren't going crazy. I am with the students. The students are doing the right thing. It's this country that is not. The elite government is not doing the right thing.
Well,
calm down.
When it comes to the masses, the power is always in the narrative. Who controls the narrative? The Berlin Wall was built not because they worried about fighting from one side of Berlin to the other, but the two different newspapers, one from the US and one from Russia, were having different perspectives, and the narrative couldn't be controlled. So a wall was built, it's splitting Berlin in half, so that one paper would have all control over this side and the other narrative could have the control of that side. What's going on with social media is you're seeing so many different narratives that it requires critical thinking, and you have to think about it instead of just accepting what you hear at face value.
But
once you engage young people,
hold up. You're not hearing diversity of responses. You're hearing just one. They're one-sided.
No. The narrative of the mainstream, yeah. But that's not what people are listening to anymore. That is not that's not what kids are listening to. They could care less. They're not watching TV. They're not watching television anymore. They don't know what ABC, CBS, NBC, what are you talking about? Like that's not in there. They're on TikTok, they're checking out Hulu, they're checking out every 1,001 different social platforms, and the ones that they have people that just put up information on their own channels, and this is what's going on. So they're getting multiple perspectives, and when you have a lot of information coming at you a lot of time, everybody that is being talked to by the mainstream is not going to be on the same page. And that is the threat, controlling the narrative. And this is where true freedom comes in, when people have the right to have an opposing opinion. I don't believe what you're saying.
Taking away that right. I mean, people are going into public places.
I know that they're trying, but again, every time they're
succeeding, they're arresting people. They're taking. I saw a young student that was pulled by her ponytail with these law. They had 4 different law enforcement units for unarmed peaceful protesters at a college.
But again, the youth aren't doing what they were doing in the 60s. This happened in the 60s with peaceful protests, youth being arrested. That's not where they want to control. Not everybody is out marching anymore, and most people don't want to. They don't need to march anymore to have feet on the ground like that in order to be effective anymore. And that's what I'm saying. The control of the narrative is gone. You're sure you can get a few marches, you can arrest a few people here at a sit-in, but it's already that arrest is going viral and you're not looking good. They can't control that. So no, that game is lost and they understand it. That's why they're attacking the platforms. They gotta figure out, how can we control the free speech if everybody has access to say what they want to thousands and potentially millions of people without millions of dollars backing them. That's what's going on, and that's where we need to look. Your platform has the potential to go viral, and the government can't do anything about that. What can they do? They can go in and maybe shadow ban a few sites, but if everybody's on the same page and is listening and is thinking for themselves, then that's a problem for them. So no, I don't fear what Fox News says. I don't care about these so-called news people that don't do due diligence in their reporting. They're passé and people aren't listening to them anymore. That's why they're running to social media. They're trying to get TikTok pages. They're trying to get Facebook pages. They're trying to get YouTube pages. The newspaper, I looked at the Boston Globe the other day. That thing used to be an inch thick. It's now like 10 pages. Why? Nobody's buying that newspaper anymore. They're trying to sell me 20-page newspaper for $4.50. Why would I buy your newspaper? It used to be 50 cents and it was like a book. Now you're suddenly selling me a pamphlet for $4.50. No one is buying it. These newspapers are passé. Now, this is what the concern is. They cannot control the narrative. If they could, there wouldn't be such angst in our political system now. There wouldn't be such infighting in the political system. That's what's going on. And it doesn't matter. People are looking at the left and the right and viewing them as the same, because when it comes down, push to shove, whenever there's something important to be talked about, like how much money that a person's going to make, both sides go against what the public wants. And the young people see this. They can't afford to get a home anymore. You can't get a single.
That's true. I wanted to. We got like 2 minutes left of this show, and I just want to do a recap. What can a call to action? What can folks do if they did listen to part or just a little bit of this podcast? What they can do? The first
Share it.
Well, the first thing I just want to mention, and I want to hear your thoughts. But the first thing that I think is crucial: stop buying different models of your phones. Your devices. You're putting pressure on people that are getting paid little to nothing, and they're being burdened, starved, etc. So keep your phone till it falls off. We're starting to do collective community sharing. The next thing is support. If you live in a city and the students are protesting, bring them by some food. Make sure that you support them. They're doing the right thing. And with the Palestinian people, you can sponsor a Palestinian family to come, to actually bring them home, get them out of the danger of Rafah in Gaza, because they're killing them. So again, now we're talking about the Congo. We're talking about really being aware. Mike, you talked about critical thinking, and I think it's important. We've got like 60 seconds left. Go for it. I'm sorry. Go on and summarize.
Share, seek knowledge, and investigate. Find out who the companies are that are funding this, how they're funding it. Follow the money. That's always a big thing. Who's getting paid from this from the death and destruction. It's blood money. Find out who's doing it, who's backing it, and why. Who are the corporate structures behind our politicians that support this, and why? Then you'll get the clearer picture. Just follow the money.
Absolutely. And I want to thank everybody, for checking us out. I'm Deb Shariff, and we're going to be here every Sunday. Michael Theory, thank you so much for being here. And all I want to say is free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congolese, and right on to the students, and blocks the 2024. Thank you for checking us out.
God bless. Thank you.